Go live. We are live. It says you are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the All Dolphins podcast live post-game recap. And Ken is getting into full mode here with that pose right there. Kind of says it all. This looked like a game, even though the Dolphins are not a great team right now. It just felt like, as poorly as Anthony Richardson was playing, it felt like this was a game that they should win the whole way, and for some reason kept the Colts in the game and then kept making mistakes, and here we are again with a loss, 16-10.
Yeah, I am going to say something that I'm sure I'll get pushed back on from the football types, and maybe Poop, you'll disagree as well. He may eventually be all that he was hyped up to be, and he was the combine superstar, and he had a great combine PR team, and boy, look at how he flips. Look at how he cleaned up the meeting room. My God, Anthony Richardson is a saint. But he is a below average NFL quarterback. He is a bottom half of the league starting quarterback in the NFL, and I understand he's been injured and there hasn't been an awful lot of reps there. But if that is what the Colts right now, short term, are hinging their progression on, that's not good. He's not good. And you allowed that to beat you. And what started the downturn today, Poop, was final Colts possession, no business being in scoring position at the end of the first half. And what do? You push back in prevent. You've got Jordan Poyer and Kader Kohou who get lost in the middle of the field. 33-yard completion. You gift him 3 points, and then the Dolphins never recovered from that.
I'm not going to push back on Anthony Richardson because right now he looks lost. He looks to me like a poor man's version of Josh Allen before Josh Allen, I don't want to say figured it out, until he actually got accurate, which is weird because usually that thing doesn't change. But Josh Allen as a rookie was spreading the ball all over the place. I mean the ball all over the place, but you could see like exceptional physical traits. You can see that at times with Anthony Richardson, except he's way more erratic.
I don't think he has good football sense. And maybe you can make that same argument with Josh Allen. But Anthony, I mean, Jordan Poyer should have picked him off on that final possession. He does not put good touch on the football. He doesn't have good football sense. He's, instead of before their field goal, throwing it away to maintain yardage, he's sliding down 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. All I'm saying is he might eventually be good, but he better get going on this progression to meet Josh Allen's standards if we're going to use that comparison.
No, we're not. Well, it's the same type of quarterback, not the same caliber, obviously. Well, and I kind of texted somebody like Dolphins might have been in trouble earlier in this game had Joe Flacco been playing for the Colts. And again, they selected Richardson 4th overall last year. They got to exhaust all possibilities of him becoming a success before they move on from him. They just have to. They have no choice.
Sure.
But to me, I will push back. Here's where I will push back against you. To me, it wasn't the end of the first half that lost the game. It was the 2 fumbles.
Well, that solidified the way that was trending. All I'm saying is that the regression began basically silver plattering 3 points to the Colts. And then after that, you're right, the fumbles really started to do you in. First, you've got Mostert. Go down. I appreciate the fight, but, man, you've got 5 defenders around you. Go down. And then the same thing applies to Ingold. And I thought that it was poetic, them just sitting next to one another, because we didn't see much of Mostert at all the rest of the day, and they're sitting there and shoulders slumped, and you just knew, like, the whole thing's just death. It was listless. That second half was listless. The Huntley injury didn't help. But are you winning if Tyler Huntley plays the rest of the game either? I don't know. I don't think you can make a case for it.
Well, here's the question. And Huntley or no Huntley, to me, completely inexcusable that you would attempt a field goal, 4th and 1 from the Colts 36-yard line with 5:20 left when it's a 54-yard field goal, which is no chip shot. And this is only to tie. And then you're giving the ball back to the Colts, hoping that they don't go on a 5-minute drive to kick a game-winning field goal themselves. There's no guarantee you'll get the football back. You surely can hope because Richardson hasn't played well. But it's 4th and 1. Pick up a damn yard. Seriously, I think I haven't seen like the analytics on this. I'm going to guess the analytics would favor strongly go for it. And if the argument is, well, you had your 4th string quarterback in there, I'm sorry. I mean, is he not a professional NFL quarterback?
Yeah. And where I would push back on that counter to your argument, well, you've got your 4th string quarterback in there. Yes, you go for it because you have your 4th string quarterback in there. You've got to go take the lead and let the defense go and try and maintain a lead and win that game, as opposed to settling for a 54-yard field goal that ties. Do you trust that Tim Boyle is going to lead you to victory at the end of the 4th or then in overtime in a tie game? Like, come on. And this is Mike McDaniel aggression. This is outside the box. This is find a way to get a yard, exotic offense, Shanahan offense, find a way to churn it out. And then, Jason Sanders, go out there and kick your field goal. I'm with you. In this type of game, with what you had remaining personnel-wise on the field on offense, tying the game with a 54-yard field goal is just sort of, it's makeup. It's lipstick on a pig. Great. Awesome. What happens after that? You can't tell me that you're going to trust Tim Boyle to put you back in field goal position. Not at all.
No, and this was a game-winning situation on that drive that the Dolphins had. Not their last one, the next to last one. This was a game-winning situation.
Right.
And then here's one more thought here. We complained the Dolphins were too pass happy on 3rd and 1 last year. Now, can we actually ask that they go back to throwing the ball a bit, because their running game is getting stuffed after stuffed after stuffed after stuff. And please, the fullback dive, it actually worked the first 2 times this season with Alec and goal against Jacksonville. I don't think it's worked since.
No.
And he didn't come close on the one today. So can we go to something else? I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, it's clear that the Colts just started selling out on the run. And there's a reason that Jalen Waddle had the only target and Malik Washington had the only 2 targets on a wide receivers until that final possession that ended up coming up empty. It's because the Colts weren't worried about the quarterbacks. You go and you bracket the speedy wide receivers, make sure they can't go anywhere. You'll allow yourself to be beaten by Jonnu Smith. You'll allow yourself to be beaten by a Julian Hill or a Durham Smythe. As long as 10 and 17 aren't getting the ball, you're okay. And it's increasingly clear the Dolphins refuse to run any underneath routes. So it's not like you have a safety valve, a check down for any of your quarterbacks as well. I mean, Darryl Johnston, who, by the way, kept claiming that Anthony Richardson got into his groove throwing the ball at the end of the first half, despite the fact he was 2 of 4 for 19 yards in the 3rd quarter. I have no idea what Moose Johnston is talking about, but he did correctly identify that the Dolphins were not running anybody underneath. Don't you think, Poop? And I mean, from my mouth to football God's ears, and I don't know a modicum of what Mike McDaniel knows about offensive football or football, period, or really many things, period. But I do know that if I've got 10 and 17 and that speed, I want them, if they're being bracketed down the field, to be running shallow underneath routes to give Tyler freaking Huntley and then Tim freaking Boyle an opportunity to pick me out and get some yards after the catch, and that never happened.
Yeah, and you're allowed to run crossers, short crossers. I don't know.
And this just goes to what we've talked about the entire season, especially since Tua got hurt. Where is the creativity? Where's the adjustment? Where's the ability to not only simplify, but put players in position to succeed? And I don't trust that this offensive coaching staff at any point, especially since the Tua injury, has put this team in a position to succeed.
So you're not happy, in other words?
No. I here's what I feel like, Poop. This right now, what's happening with you and I, this is the apex of the day, because leading into this was a waste of 3 hours and 5 minutes of your time, of my time, and everybody watching right now and commenting right now was a waste of their time. That was a waste of our collective time. So everybody come here into my football bosom. I'll comfort you, okay? But that was a waste of time. I'm just glad we get to have this communal experience after, or else this would have been a gigantic life suck.
Damn. And yet to me, I can't go back to like They were running the ball very well. I don't know what the final numbers were. I know they ran probably for close to 180 yards, which was very good. Again, Jalen, and they all had good runs. Devon Achane, who by the way was playing with the Guardian cap, good for him, smart move.
Yeah.
And then Raheem had some good runs
until
the fumble. And then Jalen Wright again had a couple. His first 2 runs were 9 and 19 yards, and I love the way the kid looks. The problem with that particular style is it makes for very, very long drives, and it's a lot of plays, and more plays equal more chances to make mistakes. Right. Again, there were some issues with penalties, like Liam Eichenberg, and it's kind of a fluky thing. And as we just watched Mike Gesicki recurring an onside kick to clinch a win for the Bengals against the Browns, who, by the way, look like they've lost Deshaun Watson to a potential Achilles injury, which will affect the Dolphins' Week 17 game, which may or may not mean anything. Even though the Dolphins are 2-4 and right now look nothing like a playoff team.
Yeah,
things change over the course of a season. So I am not one of those who's going to be like, okay, where's my white flag? I'm going to wave it. Dolphins are done. Sorry, not buying it. Right now, they're not a good team. I don't know that they're particularly well coached either right now. But this is a team, again, that built their entire offense around one guy, and the guy's coming back next week.
Yeah.
So the offense logically will improve. And then the defense, which has been asked to do so much because the offense is so inefficient, then cannot be asked to do so much. Again, the defense had some issues against the run, particularly in the second half. Mm-hmm. But overall, can you really complain about the way the defense played? Calais Campbell was a complete stud. Kader Cole, who I thought had a really good game. Jalen Ramsey with his blitzes came really, really close to creating a turnover deep into Colts territory, even though, by the way, that was the right call, unlike the Durham Smythe hold in the first half, which was a bogus call. But let me just quickly point out, no, there's no conspiracy against the Dolphins. There are bad calls like this, phantom holding calls everywhere on the NFL, or blatant holding calls that do not get called. Again, we mentioned injuries. Let's just run through those. Braxton Berrios, upon the replay, you can easily see that his left knee kind of buckle gave way there. Right. That's kind of frightening as to the potential severity of the injury. Tyler Huntley landed on his right shoulder and was declared out kind of fairly quickly. Yeah. Who knows where that leaves him, because now the Dolphins are going to have 4 quarterbacks on the 53 once Tua is activated, unless they put somebody on IR. Who knows? Who else? Storm Duck left the game with an ankle injury. And then Chop Robinson took a nasty hit in the ribs in the first half, did come back. And I do want to say something about Chop, because when you started talking about combine stud who's not doing anything, doesn't look good, I thought you were talking about Chop. And I was going to be like, no, I agree with you.
He applies.
Sorry?
He applies. He applies to this conversation.
Man, I'm like the play where he broke through the line of scrimmage and it had Trey Sermon in the backfield should have been a 4-yard loss. And props for getting through the line of scrimmage, but you got to finish the play.
Right. And here's the thing with Chop is how often in training camp was he constantly in the backfield? And we all collectively said, man, like, look at that burst. Look at that strength. Look at him in the backfield. Here's the thing about most of training camp. You're not hitting anybody. Then there's the second part. And Chop still has the ability to get into the backfield, but it's becoming increasingly disturbingly clear. It's a trend that he doesn't finish the play. And he's a liability in the run game. A complete liability to have on the field from a rush defense perspective. And I know he's young, and I know he's still raw. I mean, that's the thing too, Poop, is like Anthony Richardson. If I'm gonna be tough on Anthony Richardson, I need to give that disclaimer as well. And so Chop gets the same disclaimer. He's raw, but man, in a game like this, where every defensive play, every inch matters because your offense isn't doing anything, you're at a premium every time the ball is snapped, and you're on the Dolphins defensive side. You've got to make those plays. And another thing about that, how many opportunities did the Dolphins have to sack Anthony Richardson? I get that he's a freak of nature. I understand he's a mutant. But after 3 times of hitting him in the shoulders and he doesn't go down, why don't we try and go for the thighs? Why don't we try and go for the midsection? Why don't we try to make sure that he can't move those legs? He trips himself up and he goes to the ground. Hitting him high clearly wasn't working, and the Dolphins kept doing it over and over and over and over again. And Richardson was able to escape for yardage or to throw it away and live to see another down. That was extremely frustrating.
Fair, but again, I have a very hard time like pinning anything on the defense. And I'll give you another one. Tyler Huntley, to me, actually had a very good game. To me, he was very effective. There was nothing spectacular about what he did, but he gained some yardage on the ground. And then for those bitching about that there's no deep shots, well, he did have one deep shot, and it looked like a pretty damn good pass from where I sat, except Tyreek can't spot the ball.
What's he doing there? And I know the excuse is, if you've ever been to Lucas Oil Stadium, and I'm assuming you have, Poop, they have those windows, and sometimes they open them behind both end zones. And I know Daryl Johnston mentioned the glare. Stop. But I don't want to hear that as an excuse, because the glare wasn't an excuse either when Mostert fumbles the ball and Tyreek is completely given up on the play, and he's just sort of sauntering out there on the artificial surface in Indy as the big lineman is scooping up the ball and running right by him and chugging down the field to put the Colts in a very advantageous position. I know it's easy to pick on Tyreek Hill because of the money, because he's him, because he's boisterous, because of the personality, because of the lightning rod, all the attention that he accrues, but come on, man. And you can't you can't get a deep shot that looked catchable and just, oh, no, he wasn't looking at it at all. Your superstars need to help, and the superstars have not helped the equation on the offensive side since Tua went down. Not at all. Not in the slightest, unfortunately.
No, I agree. And I've said for a while now, I can't put my finger on it. There's something that's been off with Tyreek the entire season, except for the opener against Jacksonville. So, like, for those maybe suggesting, well, it's an offshoot of what happened outside of Hard Rock Stadium in the opener. Well, that game against the Jaguars, he balled out. Mm-hmm. But since then, there's just something off with the guy. And I don't know exactly what it is. But and obviously the quarterback situation doesn't help, but
right.
Even with that, there's just something not right. So now the Dolphins are 2-4. Since I'm not getting you until the next game, I'm going to ask your thoughts. What's your level of confidence that things turn around, and to what extent once Tua comes back?
I still think this team is poorly coached. I still think there's a lot of holes on offense. I don't trust the offensive line. Do I think it's going to be listless and boring and like looking bottom of the third when things are at their worst, bottom third in the league when Tua comes back? No, because I think we have enough evidence now to understand that when Tua has the keys, this thing is just significantly different. But Tua coming back does not fix the softness of this football team. Tua coming back does not fix the lack of physicality. Tua coming back's not going to fix the tackling on this football team. But Tua coming back gives you a much better opportunity against mid-level to just above average teams to find a way to beat them, because you know the defense is going to keep you in the game. I think we've seen enough of a sample size to understand that this Anthony Weaver defense will keep you in the game. Tua in charge, if he stays healthy, is more often than not going to help you find enough points. It might not be pretty. I'm done thinking that the Dolphins are going to be routinely putting up 40 points again on a consistent basis. The league has figured out this offense, but 24, 27, 28. Tua can get you that once he comes back if all his faculties are in order. And you can, if he can play out the rest of the year, flirt with a playoff spot. I feel very, very strongly about that, but I don't feel so strongly that we're going to have Tua from week 8 all the way through week 18 of the season. So I don't know. It is dependent upon what's wild. We have all these Tua conversations. Poop, is he good? Is he not? Is he worth the money? Is he not? Is he elite? Is he not? There's no doubt the Dolphins are at their peak when Tua is playing. And you have to admit that if Tua does not come back, it's become clear that Tyler Huntley is not going to lead them to flirting with the playoffs. Tim Boyle certainly is not going to. So it's Tua or bust. Now, this is the situation the Dolphins are in at 2-4. Tua comes back, and it truly is Tua or bust, which is a wild development based on all the conjecture around him for so long.
Yeah, and this is an indictment on what the Dolphins did or didn't do in the offseason when it comes to the backup quarterback situation. I'm sorry, to me, I'm still I'm still not going to get over the fact that they couldn't see it clear to upgrade at the backup quarterback position. Unless I am massively wrong and Skylar Thompson gets another shot and proves me wrong and balls out. But my level of confidence in that happening, not great at the moment. So, that's an area where the Dolphins really, really dropped the ball. But I said all along, and by the way, for those who are saying 2-4, they're done. Well, in the 2 times they made the playoffs between 2001 and 2022 were 2008 and 2016. In both of those seasons, they were 2-4 after 6 games in seasons that had 16 games, not 17 like this year. So this notion that it's done, no, it's not done. As they are right now, they have no shot of making the playoffs unless the level of play obviously picks up. They have some weeks ahead to get that done.
You know what is ironic about all of this, and I promise I'm not. We had a long, lengthy discussion about Brian Flores a couple of weeks ago and his credentials as Dolphins head coach. But I was sitting there today thinking, man, I'm having deja vu. The Dolphins without Tua in these games, this looks like almost every single game of the Brian Flores era. Close game, slugfest, lean on the defense, enough to make plays, and ironically, the Tua version of the Brian Flores experience where Tua's really struggling. He's throwing for like 140 maybe. You have 1 or 2 competent drives to score, and then, all right, defense, go out there. And so without Tua now, the Mike McDaniel version of the Dolphins feels very much like the more listless version of the Brian Flores with Tua Dolphins, if that makes any sense. Like, I was just having flashbacks today watching this.
I mean, how scary. The last 5 games, they have scored 10, 3, 12, 15, and 10 points. Ugh. I mean, this is tank 2019 bad or 2007 bad.
Yeah.
Or 2004 bad. I mean, holy. And again, it's not like they don't have, and I get it. They don't have how should I put this very politely? They don't have quarterbacks who can consistently get him the ball. But again, Tyreek Hill had 1 for 7 today. Jalen Waddle had 1 for 11?
Yeah.
Yikes. Come on.
I do think, though, there's no doubt that no matter what happens the rest of the year, and you mentioned it, but we've talked about it at length, and I know you have with Omar and Dave Hyde and everybody else. The lack of a backup quarterback option is the story of the season. The story of the season. It's not the Tua extension. It's not the Tyreek Hill extension. It's not the Tyreek Hill incident with the police before the game against the Jaguars. It's nothing but you went into that season saying, oh, yeah, Skylar Thompson, that's the guy. And, Tim Boyle coming off the practice squad. Come on down. That is the story of the year. That is why the Dolphins are 2-4 right now, post Tua.
Can't argue with you there, Mom. I would love to.
Yeah, that's the reality.
Okay, let's attack viewer comments, and I'm sure these are going to be really, really positive and full of.
Yeah.
Yes. Was it? What's the one? The famous song, like Uplift the People or something like that. Anyway, we'll start with Matt. Oh, thank you very much for the contribution, Matt. I have never felt closer to Jim Mora's playoffs. I just hope we can win another game speech than I do now. Oh, got it. Playoffs. I just hope we can win another game speech than I do now. We sure do feel like the worst team in the league. The New England Patriots would like a word. The Carolina Panthers would like a word. I will tell you one. Sorry,
the Jaguars are still. I know they beat the Patriots, but the Jaguars are still flat out bad too. Like they're a bad football team.
I'm not so sure they're not better than the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins did beat them. But I mean, they look pretty good offensively today. No, they're not the worst team in the NFL. But yeah, I would use the other Jim Mora quote. The second half, that was diddly. We didn't do diddly poo. We sucked. We couldn't do it. I mean, we couldn't. That's another one that comes out because Dolphins were shut out. They were up 10-0. They didn't score another point the rest of the game.
Yeah. It's not worst team in the league, but I'll definitely give you bottom third in the league, especially when they're at their lowest point. I may give you bottom 3 in the league. Like first half was competent, but the second half Dolphins, especially with that offense, that was rivaling the Patriots in that spot. It's just bad football.
Yep. O'Shea Morris, O'Shea, my man, thank you very much for the contribution. Hang in there, brother. This team isn't making it much fun to cover right now. Throw the whole team in the trash, fire Grier, and start over. LOL. I have said this, gang. I think Chris Grier has an awful lot of equity with Stephen Ross. I think it would take a complete collapse for Ross to make a move there that couldn't easily be blamed on injuries. Because right now he would probably say, "Well, yeah, we're 2-4 because we haven't had Tua." It's that simple.
Now, I've thought a lot about this, and I know that Stephen Ross, he has a tight-knit group of people who give him input. And it's not like he's following tea leaves, right? He's got direct people that are telling him, this is this, sky is blue, gravity exists, all these things. If you get to the end of the year, say Tua comes back next week, and the Dolphins still fall short appreciably of the postseason. Like, they're not even in the discussion come week 16, okay? Then I just wonder if those oracles that surround Stephen Ross start to chirp a little bit about Chris Grier. Because you can also make a significant argument that forget the quarterback for a second. And maybe it is damning that you went ahead and extended the quarterback and then didn't come up with an insurance option for him after paying him all that money. You have never quite, other than Armstead, done anything to really reinforce the offensive line, right? And you've put all your eggs in the Armstead injured constantly basket as well. You have not been able to find a way to find the players or retain the players that give a tough physical edge to this football team. You have never in your tenure won a playoff game. If Joe Douglas, who went out and acquired Aaron Rodgers and his merry band of influencers with that Jets organization, is on the verge of not getting his contract re-up there in the Jets organization, then there at least should be a discussion in Miami about the merits of Chris Grier and whether or not he deserves to continue to mediocrely build this team. Nothing's excelled. Nothing's exceeded in the grand scheme of things, and at some point, enough is enough. Stephen Ross isn't about mediocrity. I know that about that guy. It's why there's an F1 track that surrounds that stadium. It's why there's Super Bowls and national championship games now that are played at that stadium. It's why the value of that organization is infinitely higher than it was when he bought the majority stake from Wayne Huizenga. He does not tolerate mediocrity. This is mediocre from Chris Grier, and it's been nothing but that.
Damn. Talk about a therapeutic session, man.
Whew, you can tell every 7 days, man. I might need like a Wednesday session just to keep my sanity here.
Damn. No, and I can't argue with anything. And for those, and I think I addressed this on the show a couple of days ago. Understand that there are built-in advantages to running an organization in Miami, particularly the Dolphins, because of the facilities, which earn straight A's from a player. Yeah. He's also got an owner who's not afraid to spend, and half the NFL either trains or lives in Miami. So when guys look to get moved for whatever reason, bigger contract, whatever, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb wanted a new contract, Jalen Ramsey wanted a new contract. Well, guess what? It's easy for the Dolphins to jump in and make those moves. But is that necessarily the best way to build a franchise? It hasn't worked because, again, the results haven't been there. And yes, I know the Dolphins have 4 consecutive winning seasons. They made the playoffs the last 2 years, but we're still looking for that one playoff win, which ultimately should be at the bottom line.
Hope, let me ask you about today. In regards to today, there's things that were going through my mind other than, oh, man, I really like these cinnamon toast popcorn bites that I'm having during the game. But I don't know the brand name. I'll get it for you. I recommend it. They were really, really good, and I probably gorged myself on them way too much. But I appreciated Tyler Huntley getting Jonnu Smith involved. I thought that's what I like about Tyler Huntley, is that because I think, especially with the Ravens organization, when things start to break down around him, he's like, hey, where's my safety valve? I'm smart enough as a quarterback to know, get me the big, bulky guy with the hands. Hey, there's number 9. I like that. That's good. So I was totally fine, actually, with the lack of targets for the highly paid wide receivers today, okay? But to a bigger point, when you have Tyreek Hill and you have Jalen Waddle and you now have Odell Beckham for his second game, especially coming off of a bye week, what does it say about this coaching staff that you can't get any of those three guys, any target in space where the veteran quarterback feels even comfortable trying to put it in their vicinity before really the second half and into the fourth quarter? That's a game plan thing. If you can't get those guys in space, that's a problem. And I think there's plenty of other play callers in this league or play constructors that would find a way to get three receivers of that caliber in a spot to regularly still contribute without Tua.
Yeah, again, can't argue with anything he's saying. Although I think I might, as I've been saying, I would temper expectations a little bit when it comes to Odell.
Yeah,
this is not prime Odell we're getting. And then he had the one target today, and it was kind of a dangerous throw where you're putting your wide receiver in a bad spot here when you're throwing a slant late, and you saw Odell trying to make a catch and adjust his movement as well to be able to make a quick move to avoid the big hit that was coming, and he wound up dropping the ball. But yeah, this is an offense right now that's just struggling for answers. Caleb Emerson. Caleb, thank you very much for the contribution. It looks like a very cool avatar. Almost looks like Heisenberg. I could be wrong.
it does actually.
Right? Fullback keeps getting the ball when we need a yard. Why? Coaching stinks. No discipline. Yeah, some of these whatchamacallit, the pre-snap penalties are tough. Like Jonnu Smith had one player was literally lining up offside, lining up too far ahead.
And that's been a common occurrence. I would rather on that 3rd and 1, and what you said earlier, Poop, is right. Since the Jacksonville game where Ingold had the breakout, and even going back to the Patriots game where Ingold he was the lead blocker until he got the ball at the goal line and scored the eventual game-winning touchdown for the Dolphins in that Patriots game. I appreciated the exclamation point and feeding him the football, but it is clear that Achane, his running success is predicated on where's Ingold. Mm-hmm. He runs behind Ingold every single time. When he gets his chunk yardage, it's because Ingold has cleared a hole. He has sealed an edge. That, to me, is the play on 3rd and 1. Because even if the Colts are stacking the box, right, and they're loading up the line, Ingold has such a good knack of creating that small bit of space, and it's only a little bit of space that HN needs to get 3 feet of yardage. So instead of Ingold running in front of what clearly is a pretty soft offensive line, I would much rather have HN in that spot get the football and follow Ingold instead of Ingold being the one who you rely on. And then you have the discussion. And then it's a moot point. You don't send out Jason Sanders for a 54-yard field goal after that.
Yeah, and here's one that I've suggested before. I'm going to suggest it again. I don't know. How about an extra lineman on 3rd and 1?
Yeah.
Or play action. Again, to me, like last year and the year before, they were way too pass happy on 3rd and 1. Now they become like completely, focused on the run, and it's not working. Chris, I love this one. Chris Dravis, thank you very much for the contribution. You want the Mike McDaniel, to stick to the run? He does. You want him to stop going for it on 4th? He kicks. Fumbles and lack of talent is the issue. Doesn't deserve all the blame. Some but up. First of all, want him to stick to the run because it's working. Want him to stop going for it on 4th down? Not me. Sorry. No, not me. Especially, again, it's got to be situational. There are times when it calls for punting. Like, for example, I think it was the first half, they were up 7-0, I think it was, and they had a 4th and 2 from midfield. That one, punt, because your defense is dominating the game. Late in the game, I will never, ever, ever, regardless of circumstance. Well, no, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But barring very weird circumstances, I will never ask my kicker to kick a 54-yard field goal to tie a game with 5 minutes left on 4th and 1. Sorry, you don't. That's like bunting. That's like bunting to score a tying run in the top of the 9th inning.
Right. Absolutely. A sick part of my my subconscious would almost rather punt in that spot and pin the Colts inside the 10 and let the defense go to work and win the field position battle over sending out Jason Sanders to tie it or giving the Colts half a field to work with, which they successfully navigated and were able to kick the field goal to go up 6 yards in that spot. It's not, listen, it will always, even when things are going well, you can nitpick Mike McDaniel from a play calling standpoint. My issue more with Mike McDaniel is how do you not put this offense in a position to succeed? Like, how many teams in the NFL this season alone have had backup quarterbacks come in to very, very average to above average success, where the teams remain competitive, they're in a spot to win games, things are still fluid, and you're able to run your offense. Like, the Dolphins are incapable of running anything close to their offense. It's such a striking difference that it's almost jarring that it's all that or nothing at all. That's not good coaching. That's not good football game planning approach. That's my problem with Mike McDaniel. Not so much the individual nitpick, do this here. What is this compared to when 2 is in? There shouldn't be this wide a gulf.
There shouldn't be, except the problem is that the Dolphins created a major talent gap at quarterback, number one. And number two, they had a quarterback. They built the offense around very specific skill set of their quarterback who can make quick decisions, get the ball out quickly, whereas the other quarterbacks on the roster do not do that. So either they needed to get a much better number 2 guy or somebody with, at the very least, had a similar skill set who could make those quick decisions. And they're obviously, I understand that they're not a ton roaming the streets doing that. But for example, again, I'm going to throw out that same name. If Joe Flacco was the backup quarterback, you can tweak the offense enough to where it still should be very efficient with him at quarterback.
Right.
So,
and they couldn't be any two different football players, Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco, and it would still move because I trust Shane Steichen to make those adjustments more than I do Mike McDaniel right now. Like, I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yep. Zenman 1001, thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you. Thanks to you and Mr. LaVicka for the excellent commentary. More importantly, better overall player, Tim Raines or Andre Dawson? Okay, here's how I'm going to answer this. Andre Dawson was the more complete player. I like Tim Raines better because I think he excelled more in his areas. First of all, I think he hit for a higher batting average career-wise. Also was an incredible base stealer. And I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to.
Okay. I would like to weigh in. I know that was an Expo-centric question, but me as a native Chicagoan and a White Sox fan, I can certainly speak to both men. So Andre Dawson, a Cub, bleep him. Okay. Great player, but I have whatever. But as far as the best player in this conversation is concerned, Tim Rock Raines. All right. So he was the linchpin, the leadoff man of the 93 AL West Division Chicago White Sox. Okay. And man, that guy, a base stealing extraordinaire, him and Lance Johnson at the top of the White Sox lineup. We're talking elite stuff to set the table for Frank Thomas there as you get into the order, and he's hitting for power and hitting for average. But Tim Raines is a legend, a White Sox legend, an Expos legend, but I would say the purpose he served for the White Sox was maybe more important in the grand scheme of things, especially for his legacy, than anything he did with the Montreal Expos. Certainly one more on the south side of Chicago.
Excuse me. How dare you? How dare you? Get off my podcast with that.
By the way, sorry, Marlins fans, about my Andre Dawson bleep. I'm talking about the Cubs version of Andre Dawson. Certainly much respect for the Marlins version of him.
Okay. Well, this is the first point in the podcast where you're completely wrong, but that's okay. All good. But they were both very good players. Yeah, I'm going to leave. Oh, there we go. Zeman again, thank you, Mr. More importantly, Ackroyd or Belushi, this regarding the former as a Canadian. I'm assuming you mean John Belushi and not Jim Belushi.
yeah, I would think so, yes.
You're the Chicago guy. That might be more for you. We'll both answer it. You go first on this one.
So it's funny. This goes back to our last post game. Dan Aykroyd points for being the star, the Ray in Ghostbusters. So Dan Aykroyd Ghostbusters, my favorite movie of all time. I'm going Dan
Overrated
Aykroyd.
movie. I'm sorry.
Yep. I know you hate that movie. You have no respect for Marshmallow Man, but Dan Aykroyd all day. The perfect Ray in the Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
Also more subtle in his humor than John Belushi, who was like completely over the top. Of course, yeah, Dan Aykroyd being Canadian has nothing to do whatsoever with my call here. But yeah, I would slight edge to Dan Aykroyd.
I do like, Poop, that you span both borders. You're equal opportunity, and that's what I appreciate about you.
Okay, here we go. Ditrapio, thank you very much for the contribution. Okay, let's attack some more. Come on now. This team is so bad, we're talking baseball now, and only we're asking a very specific baseball question. That's all.
I mean, feel free. You can talk baseball if you'd like, but no, the Dolphins, listen, there's plenty of Dolphin stuff. We're just getting going here, but we're just having fun with the bet. You guys need a distraction. If you're mainlining Dolphins misery now, 45 minutes after this game ended, I think we're doing you a service, getting you at least a bit of a distraction before you plant your face into your wall. Okay?
No, not only that. No, we take care of the people, and the people are asking questions about baseball and movies, and then that's what we're going to talk about.
Right.
Matto, thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for the streams. Ken and Poop, Finn's averaging less than 5 second-half points per game after week 1. Seems damning on the coach. Seems like this has been a problem since last year. Hope it can get better. Yeah, I know this year, it's bad. It's really, really bad. And, yeah, because I remember, for example, the Buffalo game last year, that Week 18 game, they were up 14-7 at the half. I believe so, and again, they wound up scoring 6 points in the second half against Baltimore.
Yeah.
So this is not a new phenomenon.
Anyone who's ever played or coached in the NFL will admit to you that in the 15 minutes of halftime, very rarely are you making wholesale adjustments and changes that are going to, even 70% of the time, change the course of a football game, right? It's sort of a reset, maybe a tweak here and there. You discuss personnel a little bit. However, it's not just periodic. It is a disturbing trend since the last time we saw the Dolphins play a really good the last time the Dolphins played a really good second half, they had a good third quarter against the Jags, and then I suppose you could count the Cowboys, right? Late last year at home. That's the last time we really saw a proficient second half.
You asking me or telling me?
No, I think I'm asking you, but I'm looking more for reinforcement on that because I don't know if I'm missing something.
Okay, and I'm going to look here at my, this is only points though. So 14 points is their season high this year. This was against Jacksonville. And then last year, we're going to go back here. And then the second half of that Dallas game, they scored 9 points.
Okay, then Washington.
Ironically enough, they had 17 points in the fourth quarter against Tennessee last year. If you remember that game.
Yeah.
Of course, 2 of those came on touchdown drives of 5 yards or less, basically.
Right. But I think that from a complete team perspective, then maybe going to the second half of the Washington game, the last time we saw the Dolphins in like their true Mike McDaniel, this thing is chugging along form. That's the last time that we saw this. Second half problems, it's a trend.
Yep.
And I don't know if it might go back to the physicality, right? Some teams are more adept at punching you in the mouth over and over and over again. The Titans sucked last year, but guess which team showed more poise, both mentally and physically, late in that game? And that was the Tennessee Titans. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills, as we've seen over and over and over again. So I don't think it's suddenly the Dolphins are unprepared game plan wise in the second half. I just think that they are more prone to getting the crap kicked out of them and getting overrun and getting bullied. And that makes the difference in this league over and over and over again. So the same thing that applied last year applies this year.
Except this is the place where I might stop you and say, if you look at the rushing that they did today was mistakes. Today was penalties and it was the fumbles. So I don't know that necessarily applied, but overall, though, the point remains that, yeah, they have not been. This is a very interesting comment here from our friend Billy Batson here. Tyreek is good. The Dolphins, Miami was never a Tyreek away from winning the AFC. However, no, But when they got Tyreek, it changed the whole dynamic of the team. Let's not kid ourselves. This was after they got Mike McDaniel as head coach. And at that time, the biggest priority was making something out of Tua after 2 subpar seasons under Brian Flores.
Right.
And then when the opportunity arises to get a Tyreek Hill, if you don't think that's going to make Tua's job easier, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So obviously then it's weird because and this was it Andrew Brandt from Sports Illustrated wrote that the Chiefs won that trade. Yeah, because they won the 2 Super Bowl titles without Tyreek, but they also have a much healthier foundation put in place than the Dolphins, even at that time. And can we say the Dolphins were crazy for giving away the 5 picks that they gave up for Tyreek Hill, considering it was your team MVP the past 2 years?
No, because you can make the argument the Dolphins are not in the postseason back-to-back years, if not for the acquisition of Tyreek Hill. And yes, the Chiefs won the Tyreek Hill trade because of the Super Bowls, but the offense has not been nearly as explosive for the Kansas City Chiefs without Tyreek Hill. That is an undeniable fact. It's not just eyeballs, it's the numbers that prove that as well. What's helped the Chiefs is the fact that the defense, they sort of swapped out. The offense was elite. The defense couldn't stop anybody. You had to get into a shootout. The defense for the Chiefs has been top 5 in the league now the last 2 years, and you leaned on that last year.
Except that, yes, they're absolutely leaning on the defense, but whenever they need a clutch drive from the offense, 15 delivers.
Or a flag. I said it.
Yeah, somebody else suffering from CFS. Fatigue syndrome.
All I'm saying is that was not that pass interference against the Bengals should not have been called, and I didn't forget about it, NFL, even though that was about 5 weeks ago. Okay, but let me ask you this: more responsible for unlocking Tua, Tyreek Hill, or Mike McDaniel and his long, extensive hundreds of highlights to make Tua more confident, as every sideline reporter, every network who covers the NFL has told us the same story now for the last 3 years? Who's more responsible, Mike McDaniel or Tyreek, to unlocking Tua?
Yeah, I don't think it's that simple as one or the other.
Come on, Pope.
Because here's the thing, and with Mike McDaniel, it's not just like the shot of confidence boosters all over the place. It also designing an offense that really took advantage of everything that Tua does well.
So it sounds like you're saying Mike McDaniel. Okay.
And we see combination. I have a hard time. It's kind of the two.
The only reason I ask that is I had this conversation the other day on a show I was hosting on ESPN Radio. I think Justin Jefferson, in my mind right now, is the only NFL wide receiver I would say would go to a team and as a wide receiver, go and lift up that offense to a different level. I think he's that good where you could insert any quarterback here and Justin Jefferson's going to find a way to help that offense excel. Tyreek is not that, and that's become clear now. Tyreek is great for Tua. He's great because Mike McDaniel designed a very unique offense where both of them are very much on the same page at all times. But if you sent Tyreek in the same spot to play with Sam Darnold in Minnesota, the Vikings don't lose their first game of the year today, right? They're maybe a 500 team. They're sort of floating around in that space. So that's the only reason I ask, is even Devontae Adams, this applies to the Jets. Devontae Adams is not going to magically make the Jets Super Bowl contenders. Is he a nice piece? Sure. Does he appease the ultimate toxic diva, Aaron Rodgers? Yeah. Can the Jets now say, we went for it, we're going for it? Even though they say, oh, we call the shots. Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with Robert Saleh, even though they keep catering to Aaron Rodgers and he continually he calls the shots. listen, it's not going to make the Jets appreciably better, and the Bills are still the class of the division over the Jets. Tyreek Hill is not at the same level of a Justin Jefferson. Tyreek Hill is more at the level of a Devontae Adams. Toxic diva.
By the way, is Aaron Rodgers your most hated player in the NFL?
Not most hated. I just think he's so arrogant. And what I hate about him is he's more than willing to throw his opinions out there all the time about everything that he has no knowledge of. And look at me, I'm on Pat McAfee. I look at me, listen to what I'm saying. Let me preach. And then as soon as anybody pushes back on that, oh, why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything. This constant Aaron Rodgers, I'm the victim nonsense when he brings it on himself. And he's a hypocrite because he is the reason for all of the flack that comes his way. Shut up.
Give me $1 million. I'll appear on Pat McAfee and throw out my beliefs here. We got a good one here. Ned, hey, Ned, thank you very much for the contribution. Was there a reason why Tim Boyle didn't throw a Hail Mary on the last play? Wouldn't it be better if Miami ran the Wildcat formation? Well, that's a different question. Yeah, my reaction to the last play, what the hell was that? I mean, first of all, dude, you're throwing it 5 yards out of bounds. I mean, and not only that's number one. Number two, your intended target on a guy who's well covered is Malik Washington. I mean, no offense. Yeah, that whole thing was I mean, Bud Ugly is to call that play Bud Ugly is an insult to the term Bud Ugly. I mean, what the hell was that? First, they didn't need to go end zone technically because they had 12 seconds left. It was 4th down, so they needed to convert the first down. Didn't come close to doing either. But what exactly that play was what? As far as Wildcat formation, oh God. Speaking very selfishly, if I never see the Wildcat again, I'll be a very happy camper because I get so sick of it.
That's so funny.
But then the problem with the Wildcat is you kind of eliminate the passing game, which is, of course, where somebody's going to come in and say, they have no passing game anyway.
Right.
But the hope is that changes. I'm not a fan of the Wildcat. I get once in a while it can work, but I'm not a fan of it.
But they were also at, what, the 35? Why are you running the Wildcat with 11 seconds left from the 30?
I think he's talking. I think that question was a general question.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I believe, by the way, you just asked on that final play, that final throw from Tim Boyle, what the hell was that? I think I verbatim tweeted that at KLV says. What the hell was that? So you and I on the same wavelength there. You're right. It's Malik Washington. Kudos to him. He had the only wide receiver target of the first half. But what are you doing? And a part of me, because that ball was so poorly thrown, it's almost as if Tim Boyle was like, oh, God, got to get rid of it so we have one more play. Did he maybe forget it was 4th down after he spiked the ball? Maybe this is a little Aaron Rodgers conspiracy theory-esque here. Did Tim Boyle forget that it was 4th down? Because it sure looked to me like you take a glance, realize it's not there, so you heave it out of bounds and you have one more play. Like that, just the way that because he threw it like 25 yards out of bounds. It almost hit the sidewall. So it crossed my mind that maybe he forgot the downs. And I'm not sure the Dolphins would ever admit that, but it certainly kind of looked like that.
Wouldn't be a good look. I like this one here. David Rome recording. Thank you very much for the contribution. Alan, ever since I saw you with your hat off, I wanted to say, pardon me, but do you happen to have any gray Poupart? I appreciate you covered. Yes, there's a lot of gray here. Here you go.
You know what, though? It looks refined. It looks good on you, and I hope you never dyed. And this is for all of the men right now. I'm not trying to do to avoid talking to women about this, but for the men, because I think that there's this propensity to say, gray hairs, this can't be. I've got to go out and get hair care for men, and I've got to get my jet black hair back. No. Embrace this. Now, me, I get to avoid it because my hairline and my ability to grow hair is decreasing on a daily basis once I've hit 40 now. So I don't have much to worry about. But the gray, it's refined. I think it's classy. I think it brings a sense of cultural demure to you. And so to you, Poop,
I am very demure, and this is I'm going to lose. I forget the other part of that meme or whatever that goes on that my wife and kids are talking about. Very demure, very respectful, very humble.
Right. It's the most Gen Z thing imaginable. But for you, Poop, I hope that you embrace it. I hope that your loved ones embrace it, because I think it makes you, you're intelligent, but it makes you look even more intelligent and refined. And you cover the
fooled another one.
That's right. That's right.
I can't, because to me, I have walked in the street and see people, men, where you can tell that there's a dye job going on. and to me, there's nothing looks worse.
Right.
So guess what? I have a bunch of gray hair. I'm not as young as I used to be. It's going to happen.
Well, living in South Florida, I can't tell you how many times I've been in downtown Fort Lauderdale or downtown Miami, and you see the guys, suits, briefcases. I assume they're lawyers, high-profile people, and they're sweating because it's hot, and you've got black drips coming down the side of your face. So that if you live in South Florida and you're taking that risk, come on, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Okay.
Completely agree. And yeah, no, I have no intention whatsoever. We're going in about an hour here. We're going to get a few more comments and then call it a day. Let's see. Whoa. Okay. Your hair will be white before the season was over. It was pitch black before this. I kid. I've had the gray for quite a while. No, rude. Jay Scully, rude. Sorry.
Jay, get over it. I'm not going anywhere, man.
There you know he's not.
Yeah, sorry, Jay.
Toby, hey Toby, how are you, boss? Thank you for the contribution. It seems like every game this year we threw at least 6 wide receiver screens, which I hated. But today I was practically begging for one. Where were they? They threw a couple of tight end screens, including the one for the touchdown, which worked out very well. But yeah, get the ball to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle's hands. There was one jet sweep end around to Tyreek, which gained 5 yards, which is fine.
But as much as we get angry when Tua is playing and they're so dependent on those hitches being an extension of the running game, today absolutely would be the day you start breaking that out, especially when the Colts started to stack the box and really not give any respect to the run game at all. And hey, we know Achan's going to get it. We know Jalen Wright's going to get it. We know that Raheem Mostert's going to get it. This would be the time. If you want to get Malik Washington involved, throw him a screen. There you go. Instead of heaving it down the field as your only option on the final play of the game.
Yep. Matto, thank you, Matt. Any risk of entering the 2007 Cameron zone of bad seasons? I'm getting worried. Need a sanity check. As of right now, still too much talent on this roster. You still have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. You still have Jonnu Smith's a very good receiving tight end on defense. Calais Campbell. I mean, hats off, man. That dude's a baller. I mean, he's so good. Zach Sealer's a hell of a player. Jalen Ramsey's a hell of a cornerback. And they're using him like a lot of different ways. Love the way that Anthony Weaver sends him on blitzes. So there's too much talent. That 2007 team, by a certain point, was really low on talent, especially offensively.
I'm just thinking of the quarterback room once Tua comes back. Skyler and Tyler, are those 2 quarterbacks that will stay with the organization in addition to Tua in your mind?
Well, it depends on the severity of Huntley's shoulder injury. He may wind up having to go on IR. They're not carrying 4 quarterbacks on the 53. That makes no sense. I didn't understand the move personally, and you can shed some light on this. I didn't understand the move to sign Boyle to the active roster when he has 2 elevations left for the regular season, but you sign Matt Overton, the long snapper, to the practice squad and elevate him when you're going to need a long snapper for at least the next 4 games, including today, because Blake Ferguson is on the reserve non-football illness list.
Yeah, I don't.
Makes sense to me.
It was very bizarre. I just Cameron levels of bad. No, that's not going to happen. No. Say you have Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson as your 2 quarterbacks. Is that better than John Beck and Cleo Lemon? If we want to talk about the 2007 season.
Yeah, and the running backs are better too. I mean, come on.
Okay. I harken back to when I first started covering the Dolphins in 2008. The training camp battle before Chad Pennington got there was Josh McCown and John Beck. It is the single worst training camp quarterback battle in the history of the NFL. And want to know how things came full circle for me this weekend, Poop? I called FAU at UTSA. UTSA starting quarterback, none other than Owen McCown, the son of Josh McCown.
You forgot Chad Henne also was a rookie that year.
That's right. Chad Henne was brought in. He wasn't going to be competing for the starting job. You're right. It was between those two, and then Pennington came in, though, and then everything changed after that. Bye-bye to John Beck. By the way, I saw someone commented, Susan Boyle better not be on this team anymore. Susan Boyle, the opera singer woman from Britain's Got Talent from many years ago? Okay.
That's a great reference. I remember her, and there was a guy who I believe worked like a cell phone sender, kind of like frumpy looking dude. And then he starts singing opera, and everybody's like, whoa.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, whoa.
Yeah. I tell you what, that
Paul Potts was his name, maybe?
Paul Potts, yeah.
His name? I mean, damn, that dude could sing.
What are we doing, man? You're right, though. Paul Potts and Susan Boyle. Britain's Got Talent. Thanks, Simon Cowell.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
It's time to close up shop here. Hold on. A couple more. Juan Pablo Barbuth. Well, at 2-4, the season is officially over. Wrong. No way they lose less than 5 more games. We don't know that. Therefore, no playoff hopes. Hopefully, they sell off some talents for picks and fire Grier. I love that. I love this comment because, first of all, I think you're wrong. No, the season's not over.
No.
Number 2, are you going to tell that to the Bengals, by the way, who also are 2-4?
Right.
Who you trading that teams would want? You actually think, like, I know Tyreek Hill's name has been mentioned only because the connection, because the Chiefs need offense and all that. Dolphins are going to go ahead and pay the signing bonus that they gave him for the new contract, but then give up on him like immediately when he's got 2 more years left on his contract. Who you trading and getting major picks for? Dolphins signed these guys beyond this year.
Yeah, they signed these guys because they thought the core was there to win with this core. Now, Poop and I, during training camp, we definitely had some issues with relying on this core to be Super Bowl contenders, but the Dolphins signed these guys saying they are Super Bowl contenders. Was it delusional? Maybe. But yeah, they're not. That's why all this Tyreek Hill trade talk over the last couple of weeks, unless it was something unbelievable, no way the Dolphins are entertaining that, because they did not re-sign Tyreek Hill to just ship him off. Then he is an integral part of this roster and what the Dolphins think this is at full strength. So again, maybe they're living in delusion land, but that's not happening. And the 2-4 season over, this looked really ugly. This was a bore. This made you want to go take a walk or watch a cooking show and not watch football, or even go down a YouTube wormhole of Paul Potts. Okay. But at 2-4, like, the Jets are strutting around at 2-4 now that they got Devontae Adams saying, like, Woody Johnson at the owners meeting said, "Oh, we're going to kick ass." You're 2-4. You're 2-4, and your quarterback's being whiny. He's lost the last 2 games with late interceptions and then blamed his wide receiver instead of taking accountability himself. The Jets are acting like we're fine. Meanwhile, the Dolphins 2-4 and haven't had their starting quarterback and won a game without Tua. Like, just chill out for a second. No, they're not Super Bowl contenders, but to say the season's over, they're not going to flirt with the postseason, that's just rash and irrational.
I love fired up LaVicka. Love that. I love pissed off. We got to come up with an alliteration, because we got pissed off Perk and then livid LaVicka. There you go. Pissed off Perk and livid LaVicka.
Go ahead and copyright that. Livid.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, what do you think you're going to get for Tyreek Hill if Devontae Adams fetches a conditional 3 with very tough conditions to become a 2? Sorry, not happening.
No doubt.
Toby had another good one. This is Toby. And thanks for the contribution. It's Mike McDaniel, a modern-day Mike Martz.
Mike Martz went to a Super Bowl
as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So did Mike McDaniel. Well, he wasn't the OC. He was the run game coordinator.
No, wasn't Mike Martz the head coach of the Rams when they lost the Super Bowl?
Right. My bad. Sorry. I have to take an L.
So Mike Martz did find a way to be the head coach of an NFC champion team. So I would be thrilled if Mike McDaniel was able to reach what was the apex of Mike Martz's career. Okay. Like, I know that was meant as disrespect, but hell, I'd take a year of Mike Martz's best year for Mike McDaniel.
Correct. And again, it's not like Mike McDaniel's been, the Dolphins have been an abomination with Mike McDaniel, for Christ's sake. They made the playoffs 2 years ago. They were 11-6 last year. Again, they're off to a really, really bad start with a very poor managerial decision in the offseason, and that they have to overcome. So,
yeah.
Okay, let me find 1, 2, or 3 last ones. That'll be it. What? Sal Biase, I think that's you pronounce it. So the offense is built around one guy, and now that's Tua. It's not Hill, and any QB could do it. Weird poop. Okay. Clearly you're not understanding my point, so allow me to explain. Okay. The offense was based upon most of the skills. It was designed specifically for Tua as a quarterback. I have said before, when the Dolphin offense is really operating at peak efficiency, it's Tyreek Hill, the threat of Tyreek Hill, what he opens up for everybody else, and his big play capability that makes the offense special. Okay. And again, it's not that it's just only Tua who can operate it, but you cannot have the kind of drop off the Dolphins allowed themselves to have going from Tua, who let's say is a B plus quarterback, to Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley, who are not B plus quarterbacks.
Right.
I don't want to be rude and all that. Who are below average quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You cannot allow yourself to have. So I don't know if that answers your question or your comment. Okay. I think we're all done, right?
I think so. Man, it's going to be wild when next week Tua comes back and the game is still really boring. What do we do then? We were waiting for Tua's return, and then maybe it is I'm not trying to wish this into the universe. I'm just sort of prognosticating.
Where's my Debbie Downer?
I know. Tua, save. Here's my message. Okay, Tua, between the eyes, please save us. Please, Tua, save us. Honestly, it's at the point, Poop. I don't even care if the Dolphins lose next week. I just want it to not feel like a funeral march for 3.5 hours. Like, if I could have some entertainment, maybe some long touchdown passes, maybe Tyreek Hill with, I don't know, a catch. Maybe Odell Beckham gets involved a little bit. I'll take a loss, but an exciting loss while the Dolphins find their footing a little bit. How about that? Isn't that a little bit positive?
Okay, a couple of quick things here before we wrap it up. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen all the reports from national media that Tua is expected to practice on when. That's no news.
Right.
That's been out there for a while. Okay, that's the practically done deal. But then he still has to make sure you get through the practices with no issues, so he can clear concussion protocol to be activated in time for the game on Sunday. Point number 2, based on previous experiences, don't necessarily expect Tua to come out next Sunday and pass for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Okay, the first game back has been rough, especially in 2022 when he came back from the concussion. They played a Sunday night game against the Steelers, who, mind you, have a lot better defense even back then than the Arizona Cardinals have now. And it was rough, and if it wasn't for the Steelers dropping INTs all night, the Dolphins would have lost that game. Right. But immediately, the offense should certainly show a higher level of efficiency because they have the guy for which it was engineered. Okay, and then if the Dolphins can avoid, maybe cut down on the penalties would be a good start. Avoid putting the ball on the ground like they did today. Again, this is a game that they should win against the Arizona Cardinals, and now they get to 3-4. And then we'll evaluate things from there. But right now, it looks really, really bad. Season is not over. I'm going to say that until I'm blue in the face. Okay, teams have surmounted. The Jets are 2-4. The Bengals are 2-4. Do you think those teams have given up on the season? Doesn't matter how you got here. It's what you do from here on out. So,
and their starting quarterbacks have stayed healthy through the 2-4 start. as well. So in a weird, sick, twisted way, that's advantage Dolphins because you, since the Buffalo game, haven't really seen the Dolphins in their full form.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And also, Dolphins didn't lose against the Patriots, who were bad, really bad. The Bengals lost against the Patriots. So
Really bad.
On that note, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank Ken LaVicka, catch his work on ESPN Radio. When's your next show, Ken?
That's a great question. Tuesday night. It'll be actually Tuesday afternoon, 4 to 7 on ESPN Radio. Check your local affiliates.
Very well done. As always, a pleasure doing this. It would be nice if we actually did it after a win for a change, but such as life in the big city, we can't control the results. Thanks everyone for watching, chiming in. Please subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Ken and I will be back here next Sunday at this time. I'll be back here tomorrow with all that Mike McDaniel has to reveal in this day after the game press conference. Until then, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the day.